we see that the social exchange, which starts from an elementary situation, it becomes more complex. And we can divide the social exchange into two categories as direct social exchange and as indirect social exchange. Now, direct exchange is more like reciprocal transactions between persons or between groups or collectivities, and this is usually at the micro level. And this micro level situation is prevalent. We observe these micro level interactions or social exchange in the simple society. But as the society moves from, let's say, agrarian society to industrial kind of society, we see that it becomes more complex. And in a complex society, we come across the indirect exchange. So indirect exchange implies the complex pattern of exchanges among collectivities and between them and individual members at macro level. So we see in the complex society, there is a division of labor, and one group might be performing, one collectivity or group might be performing one kind of function, the other might be performing another kind of function, and these could be considered as different structures in the society. Family itself might be considered one structure, education might be considered as another structure or an institution, and there are then exchange between one structure, one institution and another institution, and that is how, for the satisfaction of the needs of individuals, we see an indirect exchange between these collectivities, between these structures, between these institutions, and that is prevalent at the macro level in an industrial kind of society. So, complex society has more collectivities, more structures, and these structures, as I said earlier, part of the division of labor, are interdependent. So we might be paying tax to the government, and the government might be paying the salary to the teachers, and teachers might be, let's say, educating the children, and children come from different families. So this is how we see that the family, the education, the polity, the economy, these become let's say, related as well as interdependent. So there is exchange of, let's say, services, exchange of goodies between or amongst these structures. So we see that over time, the norms or the standards or the values which operate, under which these exchanges operate, become more and more formalized. In a simple society, well, shared expectations are there. These are not formal kind of things. These are informal. People observe them, follow them. But in a complex society, these very norms become, let's say, rules. These become laws, and these are formalized by different institutions. And we see that in a complex society, there is a particular institution which is responsible for the making or development of these laws. So shared values in a complex society are codified into laws, and then they make sure that these laws are enforced. And we also see that in a complex society, we see that different agencies, different institutions emerge for the enforcement of those laws, or to regularize these exchange relations in the society. So such values provide effective mediation of complex exchanges. For one party, exchange provides services to another structure, that structure provides services to another structure, And this is how the indirect exchange takes place, but it is not haphazard. It is based on some rules and regulations. And since these rules and regulations have been, let's say, formalized, that's why we call them as institutionalized. And there are institutions which might be responsible for the upholding of these exchange relations. So anybody who considers now that he or she is deprived of the exchange can get help from these institutions. So we see that in a formalized situation, we develop formal procedures of social exchange through substructures. The more complex the society is, the more complex the exchange relations, and we see that there are more formalization of social values and subsequent institutionalization of structures which govern these exchange relations, or where these exchange relations take place. So that is how we see that from simple society to complex society, as we move, our exchange relations move from directly reciprocal to indirect way of, let's say, reciprocating.